"Thank you, Daddy," she said, but she wasn't looking at me. 300 guests applauded as my daughter hugged a man I'd never met and called him father. And there I was, sitting at the back of the hall, invisible. That was the moment I realized my daughter, Amelia Harris, had erased me from her life. Not quietly, not in private, but in front of the entire elite of London society. And the bitter truth? I'd paid for every second of it. The chandeliers above glowed like captured starlight. Soft strings floated through the air as waiters in white gloves poured champagne into crystal glasses. Everything sparkled, the silverware, the marble floor, the smiles. Except for me. I sat by the service door, a man who'd just spent £400,000 to watch his own funeral in disguise. I built my company, Harris Plumbing and Property Solutions, from the ground up. One van, a borrowed toolkit, and more grit than luck. 30 years later, I managed 23 properties, employed 40 men, and turned over just under £7 million a year. But none of that mattered here. At Alderton Manor, where old money drank to its own reflection, I was just the tradesman. When I handed the valet my Ford Ranger keys, he eyed my truck like it was leaking oil on his marble driveway. Inside, the room glittered with designer suits and champagne laughter. And at the center of it all, my Amelia, in a £25,000 Jenny Packham gown, looking like a dream I couldn't afford. Our eyes met for a moment. She smiled, politely, the way you'd smile at a stranger asking for directions. Then she turned away. A young wedding planner intercepted me. "Mr. Harris? You're at table 16, sir, just there by the side entrance." Table 16, between the kitchen doors and the ice bucket station. The place you seat people you can't leave out, but don't want anyone to see. From there, I could see her laughing with the Langfords, her new family. Edward Langford Sr., the real estate mogul. His son, Oliver, my new son-in-law, heir to the Langford fortune and a lifetime of polished arrogance. Every move Amelia made seemed choreographed for them. The tilt of her head, the soft laugh, the way she brushed invisible dust off her gown. But what gutted me most wasn't Oliver. It was Richard Marston, the silver-haired man sitting beside her, the one she'd just called Dad. I'd never seen him before in my life. Tall, confident, his tuxedo fitting like it had been sewn for his posture. When he rested a hand on her shoulder, she didn't flinch. She looked proud. I was still processing it when my phone buzzed. "Dad, please don't mention the plumbing business tonight. It's important to me." 7 words that turned 30 years of sacrifice into something cheap. I put my phone face down and looked at the girl in the center of the room. My daughter, who once used to sit on my shoulders to watch fireworks over the Thames. My daughter, who used to draw hearts on my work thermos in pink marker before school. I remembered one night when she was 8. Her toy sink had broken, plastic water spilling everywhere, and she cried like her world had ended. I took my spanner set from the van and fixed it, just tightening a few screws. When water ran again, she clapped and said, "You're the best plumber in the world, Daddy." That night, she slept hugging my old work jumper. Funny how memory can feel heavier than any pipe you ever lifted. Now she wouldn't even say the word plumber out loud. Dinner hadn't even started, and the whispers had begun. A woman I recognized from one of our corporate clients, Margaret Hill, approached me, wide-eyed. "Daniel Harris? I didn't expect to see you here." "Father of the bride," I said. Her face changed, confusion first, then sympathy. "Oh, I didn't realize." Amelia never mentioned. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Within minutes, the story spread faster than spilled wine. The plumber's her dad? I thought he was dead. By the time the rumors reached the head table, Amelia's smile had stiffened. Her new husband leaned close, whispering something that made her flinch. Then Edward Langford Sr. made his grand entrance to my table. "Ah, you must be Mr. Harris," he said, extending a hand. "Edward Langford. Pleasure at last." "Likewise," I replied. He squinted. "I know your face. Have we met before?" "You had a burst pipe at your Belgravia townhouse last February," I said evenly. "Sunday morning. You were hosting a charity brunch." For half a second, he looked thrown off, then smiled thinly. "Ah, yes, of course. Excellent work. Very practical. Practical. Not successful. Not admirable. Practical, like a wrench. Like a tradesman who wandered into the wrong world." He patted my shoulder as if rewarding a pet and drifted back toward the champagne crowd. That's when I saw the first real crack in Amelia's perfect smile. The kind you only notice if you've watched someone grow up. She looked terrified that her truth, was finally bleeding through her silk facade. As the string quartet began their next set, I leaned back in my chair and opened the envelope in my pocket. Inside, bank statements, invoices, and contracts. Every signature, every payment, every proof that I'd funded the very wedding I wasn't allowed to exist in. For months, I'd convinced myself I'd give her this one night. Let her have her fairy tale. But in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't attending her wedding. I was financing my own disappearance. The venue manager, Clara Brooks, came over quietly. She'd been my point of contact for 6 months, sharp, respectful, not easily rattled. "Mr. Harris," she said, glancing toward the Langfords, "we'll need confirmation for the remaining balance by 9. "How much?" "270,000, sir." "It's ready," I told her. "Just waiting for my approval." She nodded but didn't leave. "Would you like us to proceed exactly as planned?" I smiled. "Let's see how the night unfolds." That was the first time she looked uncertain. As she walked away, I saw 2 of her assistants watching me, not with pity, but recognition. They knew who actually paid the bills. And more importantly, they knew I hadn't approved the final transfer yet. By 7:30, whispers had turned into tension thick enough to taste. The smell of roasted duck and champagne hung heavy in the air. But the laughter had cooled. People glancing toward me, toward her, putting the story together. Amelia's hands trembled as she fixed her hair, and her groom kept checking his phone, probably getting updates from the gossip mill faster than the Wi-Fi could carry them. A journalist I'd met once at a property conference hovered near the door. "Mr. Harris," he said, lowering his voice. "There's talk about funding issues." "Funding issues?" I raised an eyebrow. "Just rumors, of course, but interesting ones." I smiled. "Then you'll want to stay for dessert." Edward Langford was now laughing loudly about his yacht on the Côte d'Azur. 2 million quid and worth every penny. People laughed along, eager to belong. He had no idea that within an hour, all that laughter would turn into whispers again, but this time about him. Because if there's one thing 30 years in business taught me, it's this. Money can buy you a seat at the table, but control belongs to the man holding the pen that signs the check. And tonight, that man was me. When Amelia stood to make a toast, the hall shimmered in admiration. Her voice was steady, soft, rehearsed. She thanked her new family, her late father, and those who made tonight possible. Her eyes flicked toward me for half a second. Then she turned back to the crowd and smiled. That was it. The final cut. The moment I stopped being her father and became a footnote. I felt something inside me settle. Not anger, not sadness. Just a cold, heavy calm. 9 o'clock was coming. Clara Brooks was watching the clock. The catering staff were waiting for the go-ahead that would release the final service. The entire fairy tale balanced on my authorization. I folded the check in my pocket once, twice, 3 times. A crisp sound beneath the hum of polite applause. And as chandeliers shimmered above the crowd, I realized something that froze me where I sat. I'd spent 30 years fixing leaks for other people. Tonight, I was about to let one burst wide open, right in the middle of my daughter's perfect world. The clock above the bar ticked toward 9, each click sharp enough to cut through the music. The air smelled of champagne and perfume. The heat of too many bodies shimmered under the chandeliers. Everyone waited for dessert. The staff waited for my payment. No one realized the man holding that payment was the one the bride had just declared dead. The check in my pocket felt heavier by the minute. Around me, laughter rose and fell like polite applause on repeat. Clara Brooks, the venue manager, hovered near the side entrance, tablet in hand, stealing glances my way. She knew something was off. Across the hall, Amelia glowed in the light. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect lie. Oliver leaned close, whispered something rehearsed, and she laughed on cue. But when her eyes brushed mine, the laughter slipped. For half a heartbeat, fear showed. She could sense the silence building inside me. Rumors had already begun their crawl through the crowd. I caught fragments. My name, plumber alive? People who'd never looked at me twice were suddenly curious. A waiter appeared. "Top up, sir." I shook my head. "No, thank you." I wanted my thoughts sharp. For years, I'd mistaken silence for love. Tonight, I saw it for what it was, permission for other people to rewrite me. Clara approached quietly. "Mr. Harris, it's 1 minute to 9. Shall I release the payment?" "Hold it," I said. Please. She hesitated, then retreated, the question still hanging in the air. A familiar hand touched my shoulder. Dr. Warren, one of my oldest clients, leaned down. Daniel Harris. I couldn't listen to them talk about you as if you were gone. His voice was low, kind. She told them you'd passed away. Yet last year you fixed the flood at her flat yourself, didn't you? I did. He sighed. Good men stay quiet for their children. Don't pay that price twice. Before I could answer, the orchestra faded out. The MC strode up to the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, before dessert, a few words from Mr. Edward Langford Sr. Edward rose, confident and glowing under the lights. Friends, family, tonight we celebrate two souls and the union of families. And none of this would have been possible without the love of the man who raised our beautiful bride. The hall leaned forward. He lifted his glass toward Richard Marston, the silver-haired impostor. To Richard, a father whose guidance shaped the woman we see today. Applause thundered. Chairs scraped. Even staff joined in. I didn't move. My hands locked on the edge of the table until pain steadied me. Richard gave a modest nod. Amelia's eyes shone as she mouthed, "Thank you, Dad." The sound of clapping blurred. The only thing I heard was the memory of a little girl whispering, "You're the best plumber in the world, Daddy," as I fixed her toy sink. Then I noticed Clara near the door again, tablet lit, waiting for my signal. Enough silence. I stood. The microphone nearest my table caught the scrape of my chair. The noise sliced through the applause. "Excuse me," I said. My voice carried farther than I intended. "Sorry to interrupt." Hundreds of eyes turned. "My name's Daniel Harris," I said evenly. "And I'm Amelia's father." The whispers hit instantly, rippling like wind through tall grass. Amelia's face drained of color. Oliver froze. Edward frowned. "I beg your pardon," I said. I repeated, "I'm the man who raised her. The one who paid for every flower, every bottle of champagne, every light in this room." Gasps. Cameras lifted. A few people tried to hide their phones. Others didn't bother. Amelia rose, trembling. "Dad, please. You asked me not to mention the plumbing business tonight," I said. "But honesty seems to be in short supply." Edward tried to smile his way through it. "Perhaps we can discuss this." "No," I cut in. "Let's keep it public. It's been public enough already." I turned to Clara. "You've got the contracts, haven't you?" "Yes, sir," she said carefully. "Whose name's on them?" "Harris Plumbing and Property Solutions." "And who signed every payment?" "You did, sir." The room erupted again. Richard opened his mouth, but Amelia beat him to it. "Dad, stop. You're ruining everything." I looked at her, really looked. The woman who'd once clung to my hand crossing busy roads now stood begging me to stay silent so her new world wouldn't crack. I took the check from my pocket. "This," I said, "is the final payment, £270,000. It was due right about now." No one spoke. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Then I tore it clean in half. The sound was small but final, paper surrendering to truth. Clara paled. "Mr. Harris, if you cancel, the contracts dissolve," I said. "Yes, sir." "Then stop the service." The orchestra faltered to silence. Lights flickered once overhead. Amelia's voice cracked. "You can't do this. This is my wedding." "No," I said quietly. It was. For a long moment, no one moved. Then murmurs swelled again. Shock, fascination, whispers racing faster than the lights could steady. Edward stepped forward, fury simmering under his polished calm. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll be able to look in a mirror and recognize the man looking back." I turned toward the exit. The chandeliers shimmered one last time before dipping into shadow, their reflections scattering across abandoned champagne glasses. Behind me, the music died completely. The fairy tale had sprung its first real leak. For a heartbeat after I tore the check, nothing moved. Then the hush broke open. Gasps, the scrape of chairs, the brittle clink of glass against marble. The chandeliers trembled overhead, scattering fractured light across faces that suddenly didn't know where to look. Clara Brooks spoke into her headset. Staff began to retreat with trays of food that no one wanted. The air changed, champagne sweetness turning metallic, heavy. Amelia stood frozen beneath the chandeliers, her gown catching the last of their flicker. The same girl who once called me her hero now looked like a stranger searching for somewhere to hide. I walked out. No speeches, no shouting, just the sound of my boots against the marble, each step louder than the last. Outside, the night air was sharp and honest. It smelled of wet stone and cold earth, not perfume or money. Behind me, music stumbled then died completely. For the first time all evening, I could breathe. I reached the gravel drive, the manor's light spilling like a wound behind me. I should have felt victorious. Instead, guilt pricked the edges of relief. Then I heard her. Dad. Her voice cracked through the dark. I stopped but didn't turn. Dad, please, she called again, her footsteps frantic on the gravel. When I finally faced her, the hem of her dress was soaked, her hair undone. All the glamour had drained away, leaving only the girl I'd raised. Why? I asked quietly. Why tell them I was gone? Her chest heaved. Because you'd never forgive how I let them talk about you. I panicked. I lied. I told myself it was just to get through one dinner. You had 1,000 dinners after that, I said. I know. She swallowed hard. Every time I wanted to fix it, it felt harder. Oliver said if his father found out who you were, he'd cancel the wedding. And her voice broke. I thought if I protected you from their judgment, it wouldn't hurt you. I let out a small, hollow laugh. You protected me by burying me alive. Her hands shook. You don't understand. When I said it, I hated myself for it. I knew it would kill you to hear it, but I said it anyway. That line hit deeper than any insult could. It wasn't an excuse, it was confession. I spent my whole life trying to make you proud, she whispered. Then I traded that for a seat at their table. The wind lifted her veil. It danced once before sinking into the puddles. Pride's a strange thing, I said. It keeps you upright until the day it crushes you. She took a step closer. I never wanted to erase you, Dad. I just wanted to belong somewhere that didn't look down on me. You already belonged somewhere, I said. You just stopped seeing it. Rain began again, lighter now, tapping against the gravel. I'm sorry, she murmured. No, I said softly. You're frightened. Sorry comes later. For a moment, silence filled the space between us. Two people standing in a storm, neither could stop. Then the flash of a camera cut through the dark. A journalist hovered near the gates, phone raised. The first headline was already being written. Amelia saw it too. They're going to destroy me. Maybe, I said. Or maybe they'll see what money can't buy, truth. She looked away. You think truth fixes anything? Not yet, I said. But lies break everything. Her shoulders slumped. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're my daughter, I said. That's enough, if you let it be. For a second, she smiled, small, brittle, almost real. Then it vanished. You've changed, she said. So have you, I answered. That's the trouble with growing up. We stop recognizing the people who raised us. She nodded slowly, eyes shining in the half-light. Will you ever forgive me? I hesitated. For the first time all night, doubt crept in. Had I gone too far? Had I just punished her for the fear I'd helped create? I don't know, I said finally. I just know I can't lie for you anymore. Her lip trembled. Then go. I turned toward my truck. The wind pushed against me, cold and relentless. Dad, she called again. You always said you fix things. Can't you fix this? I paused, hand on the door. Some leaks aren't meant to be sealed, Amelia. Sometimes you let them run out so you can see what's left. I climbed in, engine rumbling beneath me. Through the mirror, I saw her standing by the manor gates, barefoot now, dress stained, the golden lights behind her flickering like candles about to die. Then, just as I shifted into gear, my phone buzzed on the dashboard. Unknown number. One voicemail. No message. Only 30 seconds of muffled sound and a single breath before it cut off. I frowned, replayed it once. Nothing but static. Still, something about that silence felt deliberate. I looked back toward the manor. Somewhere behind those glowing windows, truths were collapsing faster than the chandeliers could hold. And in my gut, I knew this wasn't the end. It was the start of the real story. I woke to the sound of rain against the window. It wasn't the soft, forgiving kind that comes and goes. It was steady, deliberate, like it had something to say. For a few seconds I forgot where I was. Then I saw the half-packed suit hanging on the door and the newspaper on the doormat, and it all came back. The torn check, the silence, the look on Amelia's face. I made coffee I didn't drink and stood at the kitchen window, watching puddles fill the cracks in the drive. The phone on the counter buzzed every few minutes. Missed calls, unknown numbers, message alerts from people who'd ignored me for years. The world had found out. When I finally picked one up, a familiar voice greeted me. Daniel, it's Clara Brooks. She sounded exhausted. The press won't leave the manor, she said. They've been camped out since dawn. The Langfords are threatening to sue the venue. The papers, possibly you. I almost laughed. For what? Paying the bills. They're saying you sabotaged the wedding for attention. Attention's the one thing I never wanted, Clara. Before hanging up, she added quietly, for what it's worth, some of the staff thought you were right to do it. I didn't answer. There's no satisfaction in being right when all you feel is empty. The television was already looping the story. Plumber father crashes luxury wedding scrolled across the bottom of the screen. Someone had sent drone footage of me walking out of the hall. In slow motion, it looked almost heroic, which only made it worse. Then the phone rang again, number withheld. I let it go to voicemail, same as the others. After it stopped, I remembered the strange message from last night. I hadn't checked it properly. I pressed play. Static first, then a faint voice. Mr. Harris, this is important. Don't trust what they're telling you. She doesn't know the half of it. The message cut off mid-sentence. I replayed it twice, catching the accent, southern, polished, male. Not Oliver or Edward Langford. Not Richard either. Someone younger. I saved it, then sat down with my coffee gone cold. Outside, a car slowed by my gate. A man stepped out, notebook in hand, press badge flashing under his raincoat. He didn't see me watching from the window. He just stared at the house for a few seconds, scribbled something, and left. By midday, I gave in and drove to town. Everywhere I stopped, petrol station, cafe, high street, people stared, whispered. A few offered awkward sympathy. One man clapped me on the shoulder and said, "Good on you, mate. Teach the posh lot a lesson." I didn't feel like a teacher. I felt like a man who'd burned his own bridge because he couldn't stand watching it rot. At the cafe, my phone rang again. This time the name showed, Amelia. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was small. "Dad, I'm here. I'm at your house. The reporters, there are dozens outside mine." I looked out the window. Gray drizzle, empty road. "All right. Stay put. I'll be back in 20. When I turned onto my street, cameras flashed. Amelia sat on the bonnet of her car, head down, hood up. She looked younger somehow, smaller. Inside, she barely spoke until I made tea. Then, quietly, "They've dropped me, Dad. The Langfords. Oliver called off the honeymoon. His father says he won't associate with deception." I said nothing. "They're calling it the wedding scandal. My name's everywhere." "Names fade," I said, "but not the internet." She gave a hollow laugh, then looked at me properly for the first time. "Did you get a voicemail last night?" My stomach tightened. "Why?" "Because Richard rang me this morning. He said someone recorded a call between Oliver and his father, something about using the wedding to cover a business deal. He wouldn't explain more. Then his phone went off. The static message replayed itself in my head. She doesn't know the half of it. Amelia leaned forward. "Dad, if they were using me, if all of this was—" "Stop." I held up a hand. "Let's not jump ahead. We'll figure out what's real first." She nodded, but her hands were shaking. "You think they'll come after you?" "I think they already are." I pointed to the pile of letters by the door, legal envelopes, unopened. The kettle clicked off. Steam drifted between us. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "I never said thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For building a life good enough that they wanted to borrow it." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was the closest thing I'd heard in years. By late afternoon, the sky cleared. Reporters still lingered at the end of the drive. Amelia scrolled through her phone. "Look at this. Articles everywhere. They're saying the Langfords lost a major contract last week. Something about misused funds." So that was it. The wedding hadn't been about love. It had been a smokescreen. I looked at the silent phone on the table. That voicemail, maybe it wasn't meant for me. Maybe it was meant for you. She frowned. "Then why mention your name?" A thought stirred, unwelcome, heavy. Because maybe I was part of their story too. Outside, a car engine idled. We both turned to the window. A black Mercedes sat across the street, engine running, lights off. "Do you know them?" she whispered. I shook my head. After a moment, the car pulled away, tires hissing over wet tarmac. Neither of us spoke until it was gone. "I don't think this is finished," she said quietly. "No," I agreed. "It's just changed shape." The room filled with the smell of burnt toast. I'd left the slice too long under the grill. We both laughed, and for the first time it didn't sound broken. When she left that evening, she hugged me, awkwardly at first, then tightly, like she might not get another chance. "Don't disappear again," she said. I wasn't the one who disappeared, I replied, but softer this time. After she drove off, I checked the voicemail again. I noticed something I hadn't before, a faint beep at the end, the kind used in office recordings. Corporate. Deliberate. Someone had left me a clue, not a message. I forwarded the file to my laptop, ran the waveform back and forth. Buried under the static, a fragment of another voice emerged. Just 2 words. Langford accounts. I sat back, the pieces falling into place. The wedding wasn't the scandal. It was the distraction. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the air felt heavier than ever. A faint glow flickered through the window, the same black Mercedes idling again at the corner. This time it didn't leave. The city never felt so hostile. Every step I took down the slick, rain-streaked streets echoed too loud, like someone, or something, was tracking me. My eyes darted to every window, every black sedan passing too slowly. The Mercedes from before? Gone. Or maybe it was just hiding, waiting. Amelia walked beside me, silent now, her hand brushing mine in a fleeting, almost accidental touch. I wanted to ask her questions about the voicemail, the business, the wedding, but the words wouldn't come. She kept looking over her shoulder, wide-eyed, as if the city itself might reach out and snatch her. "We don't have much time," she finally whispered. "They've already started cleaning up the accounts. They'll erase everything, proof, emails, contracts, before anyone notices." I clenched my fists. My company, my reputation, everything I'd built, slipping away while I hesitated. My mind raced through possibilities. Confront them, expose them, go to the authorities, but every option felt like a trap. A sudden flash of headlights made me flinch. A black car swerved past us, slow enough that I caught a glimpse of the driver's face. Obscured, but unmistakably deliberate. Someone knew where we were. Someone was watching. Amelia grabbed my arm. "We need to move, now." She led me down a narrow alley, shadow swallowing us as rain poured heavier. My chest felt tight, adrenaline slicing through every nerve. As we ducked behind a dumpster, she pulled out a folder, soaked but intact. "Everything we managed to grab before they started wiping it," she said. Pages rustled under my trembling fingers. Names, figures, contracts, proof of the Langford cover-up. My pulse surged. The fight wasn't over yet. A sudden noise, a footstep, deliberate, made us freeze. I peered through the darkness. Nothing. Then, faintly, a whisper. My name. "Daniel." I spun around. Empty alley. Just shadows and rain. But I knew. They were close. Too close. And for the first time, I realized the danger wasn't just the scandal, it was them. The people who would kill reputations, destroy lives, and disappear anyone who got in their way. Amelia squeezed my shoulder. "We have to decide, fight or disappear. There's no middle ground." I nodded, fear and determination warring inside me. My life had been shattered, my name tainted, but the fire in me wasn't gone. If they wanted me buried, they'd have to dig deeper than I was willing to fall. And in the shadows of the alley, with rain washing the city clean of everything except lies, I made a silent vow. I wouldn't go quietly. Not this time. The black Mercedes had disappeared from the street, but I knew it wasn't gone. And I knew one thing for certain. They were coming. The city had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and rain, each corner a possible trap. Every streetlight flicker felt like a signal, every car a predator. My pulse thrummed like a drum, each beat reminding me that we were being hunted. Amelia stayed close, her hand brushing mine in fleeting reassurance. We moved fast, slipping through alleys, dodging the few pedestrians foolish, or lucky, enough to be out in the storm. My mind replayed the folder in her hands. Names, contracts, proof. Enough to ruin them, but would it ruin us first? Then, a sudden movement, a shadow crossing the end of the alley, made me freeze. Black suits. 2 men, precise and silent, flanking a sleek Mercedes. The car's headlights stayed off, but a faint glow of a cigarette tip betrayed their presence. They weren't just watching. They were waiting. Amelia whispered, "We can't outrun them. Not like this." I scanned the alley. A fire escape, narrow and slick, offered the only chance. "Up there," I said, gripping her wrist. We scrambled, boots slipping against the wet metal. Rain pelted us, thunder masking our sounds, but the men below noticed immediately. "Don't let them escape," one growled, voice muffled by the rain. We climbed higher, hearts hammering, lungs burning. From above, I glimpsed the city, a chaotic blur of neon, rain, and movement. The folder felt like lead in my hands. The proof was ours, but survival depended on getting it somewhere safe. A gunshot cracked below. The sound ricocheted off the alley walls. I ducked instinctively, pulling Amelia down with me. The shot missed by inches, splintering the metal railing beside us. "They're professionals," she gasped. "We can't keep running." I swallowed fear like poison. The time for hiding was over. We had to fight, or at least force them into the open. Slowly, I edged toward the fire escape railing, peering down. The Mercedes engine started, smooth and low. A figure emerged, moving with the precision of someone who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. My stomach twisted. They weren't just after us. They were after the proof. Amelia's eyes met mine. "We need to get the evidence out tonight, before they bury it all." I nodded, determination replacing fear. The city below was dangerous, ruthless, but so was I now. I had been erased, humiliated, hunted, but I would not vanish quietly. And as the Mercedes glided forward, headlights finally cutting through the rain, I realized the game had changed. From now on, we would set the rules. By midnight, the city had grown quiet, too quiet. Rain still fell in relentless sheets, but the streets were empty, a deceptive calm. Amelia and I crouched behind a row of dumpsters near the Langford building, the folder clutched tight. Every sound, drip, distant car, wind through the alley, made my nerves spike. "This is it," I whispered. "We either stop them now, or everything's gone." "Everything." Amelia nodded, eyes fierce. "No turning back. They've already erased too much." We moved silently, shadows among shadows, slipping through the side entrance of the building. Inside, the hum of servers and fluorescent lights reminded me that this wasn't just a company. It was a fortress. Every step echoed in the empty hallways, every corner a potential ambush. Then, a figure appeared at the end of the corridor, one of the operatives from the Mercedes. His head jerked toward us. I pressed Amelia to the wall, holding my breath. "Time to end this," I muttered under my breath. We sprinted. Heart pounding, adrenaline slicing through fear, we reached the server room. The door clicked shut behind us, and for the first time, I felt a sliver of control. The folder went on the table. The evidence was safe, for now. A warning light blinked. Security breach detected. Too late. They knew we were here. Footsteps thundered outside. Voices shouted commands. Amelia turned to me, eyes wide. "We can't just take the files. We have to make them see it's public. If we expose it live, they can't bury it." I nodded. We connected to the main terminal, preparing to upload the files to multiple networks. Every second felt like an eternity. Every sound outside the door made the blood in my veins freeze. The door burst open. Operatives flooded the room. Guns drawn. Faces cold, precise. But they weren't expecting us to fight back. I slammed the table, sending the folder sliding across the floor. Screens flashed, alarms blared, and in the chaos, Amelia hit the final command. The files began uploading. A tense standoff. Guns aimed. Threats shouted over the sirens. And then, every screen in the building lit up, sending the Langford scandal across the internet. Live, unerasable. The operatives froze. Panic flickered in their eyes. They realized their control was gone. Amelia grabbed my hand. "We did it. We actually did it." I exhaled for the first time in days. The storm outside seemed to echo our triumph. But even as we backed away, drenched and trembling, I knew one thing. This wasn't over. Not yet. The Langfords wouldn't forgive, and the shadows that hunted us would not rest. But for the first time, I felt a spark of defiance, a chance to reclaim my life, my name, and my daughter. And in the neon glow of the city, as rain washed away yesterday's chaos, I vowed, next time, we would be the hunters, not the hunted. The safe house was supposed to feel secure. Instead, it smelled like fear and wet concrete. Rain pounded the roof, relentless, as if the world knew what was coming. I paced the room, the folder clutched tight, every nerve taut. Amelia sat on the edge of the bed, silent, watching me like I might snap at any moment. "This can't go on forever," she whispered. "They'll find us." I knew she was right. The Langfords weren't just angry, they were methodical. Every step we'd taken, every upload we'd made, had painted a target on our backs. And now, It felt like the shadows themselves were closing in. A soft chime from my laptop broke the silence. A message. No name. No signature. Just a single line. Meet me. I can help you. Tomorrow. Midnight. Roof of the Grand Heights. I froze. Trust was a luxury we didn't have. Amelia leaned over my shoulder. Could be a trap. It could be, I said, but it might be the only chance to see how deep this goes. Night fell, rain reduced to a drizzle. The city streets glistened under neon lights as we approached the rooftop. The Grand Heights loomed above, a monolith of wealth and power. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, precise, cloaked in black, their face hidden beneath a hood. You're Daniel Langford, the figure said, voice low. You don't know the half of what's happening in your company. They've used you as a pawn, and your daughter as a distraction. I stiffened. Every word confirmed my worst fears. Who are you? A friend, they said. At least for tonight. The Langfords, they've been laundering more than money. They've been erasing lives, manipulating politics, covering tracks you can't even imagine. You've seen the wedding scandal. That was just a smokescreen. My stomach churned. My company, my name, my daughter, all used to hide corruption on a global scale. They'll come for you, the figure continued. At the gala tomorrow, they plan to neutralize every threat. But I can give you the leverage you need to expose them, if you're ready to play your part. Amelia's hand found mine, steadying me. Are you ready? She asked, eyes fierce. I nodded, though my heart raced with fear. This was no longer just about reputation. It was about survival, truth, and finally reclaiming the life that had been stolen from me. The figure slipped back into the shadows. Remember, they warned, tonight you plan. Tomorrow you fight. One mistake, and it's over. We stood on the rooftop, rain washing over us, feeling the weight of what was coming. And for the first time, I realized the storm outside was nothing compared to the one we were about to unleash. The Grand Langford Gala sparkled like a diamond under the night sky, every chandelier, every glass surface reflecting wealth and power. But beneath the opulence, danger pulsed like a heartbeat. Amelia and I slipped in through a side entrance, the folder of evidence secure beneath my coat. Every step felt deliberate, rehearsed. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed, glasses clinked. But behind every smiling face, I imagined eyes watching, calculating, waiting for us to slip. Remember, Amelia whispered, we exposed this live. One wrong move, and they'll erase everything, including us. I nodded, tightening my grip on the folder. The Langfords had planned this gala to show off wealth, to hide corruption. Tonight, it would be the stage for justice. The main hall was a river of color and light. Guests in glittering gowns and tailored suits mingled, oblivious to the storm about to erupt. I spotted the key players, Langford executives, operatives, and distant relatives laughing, unaware that their secrets were seconds away from being exposed. Then, my stomach twisted. One of the operatives from before emerged, scanning the crowd. His eyes locked on us. Amelia tensed. They know we're here, she whispered. Good, I muttered. Time to force their hand. We moved toward the main stage. Every footstep echoed, every heartbeat screamed. I found the building's control panel near the audio system, Amelia keeping watch. Fingers flying over keys, I uploaded the evidence live, each second dragging like eternity. A sudden voice cut through the music. Daniel Langford. I froze. On the stage, the main antagonist, the architect of the Langford corruption, stood, eyes narrowing, arms crossed. The room's attention snapped to him, and then to me, standing near the control panel. Chaos erupted. Operatives moved to intercept. Guests gasped, some screamed, as the screens behind the stage flickered to life. Contracts, emails, photographs, all exposing the web of corruption. The room went silent, then panic. The antagonist strode toward me, calm but deadly. Guns weren't drawn yet, but his presence alone was a threat. Amelia stayed close, her eyes daring him to act. Uploading everything, I said, voice steady despite the adrenaline. The world will see the truth. Your empire ends tonight. He smiled, a slow, deliberate curve that made my blood run cold. You think this ends with exposure? Before he could react further, sirens wailed outside. The police had been tipped. Operatives hesitated, caught between fleeing and stopping the upload. The digital proof was unstoppable. Amelia gripped my hand. We did it. They can't undo this. The antagonist's smile faltered, and he disappeared into the crowd, cursing under his breath. The gala descended into chaos. Langford's empire exposed, guests panicked, operatives retreating. I exhaled for the first time all night. The storm outside mirrored the storm we had unleashed inside. But even as relief washed over me, a single thought lingered. This was victory, yes, but the fight wasn't fully over. The Langfords would regroup. They would retaliate, and I had to be ready. The city was quiet again, but this time, it felt different, less hostile, more like it had survived the storm alongside us. The Langford Gala was over. The scandal was live, unstoppable, and the world had seen everything. Amelia and I slipped through the back streets, drenched from the drizzle, hearts still pounding. The folder, the proof, was secure in multiple networks now, untouchable. For the first time in days, I felt the weight of anticipation lift slightly, replaced by cautious hope. I can't believe it's done, Amelia said softly, squeezing my hand. They can't bury it now. I nodded, but my thoughts were elsewhere. My daughter. The nights I had missed, the moments I had ignored, the distance I had allowed to grow between us. All of it had led here. Then, a familiar voice, hesitant but warm, broke the silence. Dad. I turned. There she stood, my daughter, eyes wide, cheeks wet with tears. For a moment, everything else, the Langfords, the scandal, the chaos, faded into nothing. I saw what you did, she whispered. I didn't understand before, but I do now. You were fighting for us, for me.